In the US, there's a place called the Zone of Death. It's not like you die when you go in there, it's just that if you did, it'd be hard to charge your killer. That obviously also assumes you didn't die of natural causes, which I understand is a big leap to make, but it's necessary for the story. The Zone of Death is a 50 square mile area in eastern Idaho that seemingly defies laws like the Bermuda Triangle. But unlike the Bermuda Triangle, the laws this place defies are real deal criminal laws. Also, unlike the Bermuda Triangle, it's a rectangle, but still a basic shape. Here's the problem. Yellowstone National Park sits mostly in Wyoming, but its western border extends just a tad into Idaho and Montana. More precisely, it's 96% Wyoming, 3% Montana, and about 1% Idaho. If you're a fan of Kevin Costner's Yellowstone, you may be familiar. They kill some people by exploiting this border weirdness.
You take that trash to the train station.
There's a lot of background as to why it's like that, but the biggest reason is that the park boundaries were set to align with preserving natural features, like 10 miles around Yellowstone Lake. While the state boundaries, which were territories at the time, lined up mostly with longitude-latitude lines. It gets a bit more hazy though, because like a lot of the borders created in the 1800s, few of the people who made them actually had been there. In fact, the law that names the park's borders includes a mistakenly named lake that officials only found out about a year later. Whatever the reason, Yellowstone's borders have always included a small bit of Montana and Idaho. Here's where it gets weird. Yellowstone, like all national parks, is federal land ruled by federal laws and the U.S. Constitution. It's true. If you get a speeding ticket in any national park, it's a federal misdemeanor. Here's my friend Ben, author of WTF Does the Constitution Say, because that's exactly WTF we need to know.
So the Sixth Amendment to the United States Constitution says that the defendant in a criminal prosecution has the right to an impartial jury from the state and the district where the crime was committed.
Okay, so that's usually not a problem because federal judicial districts always line up with state borders, except in this very special case where all of Yellowstone, including the bits in Idaho and Montana, are part of the Wyoming district. It's actually the only federal district that comprises more than one state. So, a crime committed in the Zone of Death needs a jury from Wyoming district that also lives in Idaho, which means it can only be people who live in that 50 square mile area. Guess what? According to the 2020 census, no one lives there. Literally no one. So your constitutional right to a jury trial can never actually be granted for crimes committed in this place, regardless if you were caught red-handed. Now, before you get crazy ideas, this is all theoretically true, but reality can be very different. The Zone of Death was partially put to the test once in 2007 when an illegal poacher was arrested in the Montana part of Yellowstone. Unlike the Idaho part, the Montana part does have a small population, but it's so small that the poacher argued he was unable to get a fair jury. The judge wasn't buying it and ruled he could be tried just like everyone else who commits crimes in the real world. Recent high-profile murders on federal lands, like Gabby Petito, have caused lawmakers to push for legislation to close the loophole. I'm no constitutional expert, but I think they just have to move that bit of Yellowstone to the Idaho district. Unless they're planning a heinous crime in this section of Idaho, I don't think anyone will mind.